Hello, welcome in. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. As you're filing in before we get started today, we're really excited to talk about the Indiana Digital Learning Grant and how you can use it to expand your STEM and CTE. But we'd love to know who all is joining us. So as we're all filing in these first couple of minutes, please drop in the chat a little info about your role, your grade level that you're representing today, and your district, whether that's your whole district from K through 12, if you're representing a classroom, an individual school. We'd love to know a little bit about who all is joining us to make the most of our time today. We'll get started in just a moment. We'll give a second for everybody to shuffle in and share a bit in the chat. Great, already seeing we have some elementary grades, some high school represented here today, um, curriculum directors, principals. Wonderful. Great to see we have representation from all across the state and all sorts of different grade levels and different roles here. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here today and sharing a little bit about who you are and what brings you to our chat today. We're going to talk about the Indiana Digital Learning Grant. We're going to think about today what it is, what it qualifies for, how much your school district is able to qualify for. We're going to think through some models of how this application can be structured to make the most of a STEM program and of this grant. And we're going to share with you some resources to make that happen, rubrics, grant templates, and resources that can really help you make sure your application is strong and that you're able to deliver exciting innovations for your students using this grant. To get started, by way of introduction on our side, my name is Hope Thompson. I am NextWaveSTEM Senior Manager of Curriculum and Instruction. So I do all things curriculum and program related with our wonderful catalog of 37 courses. I'm a former and forever educator myself. I was an elementary science teacher in Baltimore City schools and a general second grade teacher in Chicago Public Schools. I've also held roles in instruction and curriculum design for students as young as pre-K, which I love to mention just so that we keep in mind that there's a place for all students in our STEM conversation, and there's a place for STEM in all students' lives. So whatever specialty you are bringing today, whatever student population you are representing, it's great for us to keep in mind that the STEM programs we design should be with the needs of all learners in mind. And I'm joined also by Jay Ramakrishnan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar. We appreciate it. I'm the Regional School Partnerships Manager. I work with districts and I'm based out of Chicago. So I'm going to put my information in the chat. So if you have any questions regarding implementation, curriculum pricing, you can always reach out to me. Thank you.
And as for NextWaveSTEM, we believe that the world needs young innovators, so we offer hands-on courses in emerging tech. We really want students to have a space to be not just consumers of these technologies, not just passive users, but creators and designers, and build skills in expressing their creativity, learning to fail without fear. Our goal is always to prepare teachers of today, to prepare students for the future, but increasingly, these are the kinds of technologies that have arrived, that are very much present. And so we have the honor and privilege of equipping students with the skills to use these tools effectively and safely to improve their lives and their world. So to begin, I want us to really break down what the Indiana Digital Learning Grant is. This is a grant that has four distinct goals, one being improving student outcomes and academic achievement, strengthening enrollment, employment, and enlistment pathways, leveraging data and innovation for student success, and enhancing school choice and parent involvement. The great thing about this grant is because of those four broad goals, there's a lot of different potential applications of these instructional resources that you can receive as a result of this grant, especially that improving student outcomes, academic achievement, and strengthening enrollment and enlistment pathways. That's going to have a lot of application with the STEM and CTE side of things. As for how much the Indiana Digital Learning Grant is awarding, this depends on the size of your school corporation. So for smaller corporations serving less than 1,000 students, that minimum allocation, excuse me, that maximum allocation is $12,500. But for larger districts, we can see allocations up to $50,000. So potential for a lot of impact when we're thinking about resources that can be sustainable and return to year after year. You can make an investment in a STEM program, in a CTE program that will deliver long after these funds from this award have passed. And who is eligible? So all public school corporations and public charter schools in Indiana that have completed the 2025 Tech Plan survey are eligible to apply and receive this grant funding. So does something like a STEM CTE program, like what NextWaveSTEM provides, qualify under this grant? Yes, absolutely. This is a great opportunity to either launch or improve an existing STEM program. If STEM has been something that your school has or your school corporation has had as a focus, as a priority, but has not been able to really push that into a long-term sustainable curriculum solution, then this is a great opportunity to make that happen. Access to STEM and CTE curricula and equipment is going to support a lot of career pathway exposure for all grade levels, getting additional math and ELA support to really boost academic achievement in core subjects as well as science, and then the development of discrete skills that are marketable beyond the classroom, such as computer programming, 3D design, and drone flight. So if you have been wanting to promote a STEM program that is in school, is high fidelity across classrooms, across schools, training your teachers to provide this kind of programming, this grant is a great opportunity to make that happen. And when we're thinking about the design of a STEM program, when we have a grant that is as large as this one, you have the opportunity to build out something really comprehensive. Looking at what NextWaveSTEM provides, this is a quick look at our course chart. We'll return to this, so it's not our only chance to look at it today. But I want you to notice across that top row are 7 pathways: robotics, drone flight, AI literacy, 3D technology, innovation, sustainability, and game design. And then you can see along that first column our grade bands from K through 12. So with a program that is looking to be more comprehensive, that is designed for long-term application and implementation, we want to be thinking beyond a single one of these pathways and thinking about how you can put together a suite of courses that provide a really holistic approach to STEM. Students are getting access to different technologies, things like drones and AI, things that they may already be interacting with in their world, while also building skills in computer programming and also practices of engineers, the engineering and design process, thinking like a scientist or an engineer. So depending on what the goals of your program are, your corporation's current resources, we may have 3D printers from a grant back in the day. We may have robots that we have, but we lost that teacher who was really excited to use them. Or we have a great STEM program at one of our schools, but we want to build it across other schools. So what are they doing well that we can build on? Depending on all those different variables, you may see different applications of what that perfect suite of courses will be. But with the NextWaveSTEM license, you have access to this full catalog. Every one of our courses, every box that you see here is included in a license with NextWaveSTEM. So you can really dive into what makes sense to begin if you're just looking to pilot a program, and then build from there with your teachers and your students for a program that meets all the needs and all the learning goals that your school corporation has. Now, every one of those boxes, I want to be really clear about what that is including. That's going to mean a course guide and foundational documents like a scope and sequence, a quick overview of how each of these lessons and those lesson objectives relate to measurable standards. That's going to include teachers' guides, really, really clear lesson plans, highly detailed. I call them just short of scripted, where your teachers can follow along to the letter, especially if it's their first time working with any of these technologies or concepts, and find themselves really well supported and confident to lead the classroom. That's also going to include presentations that students are following along, student-facing visual cues, examples of code, instructions, and then also worksheets and answer keys. So what your students are capturing their learning on throughout the course. Summative assessments as well are included. And all of this is hosted on our online teaching portal alongside professional development resources to bring all of our teachers up to speed on these technologies. We know that educators have a very full plate and they cannot necessarily stay on the cutting edge of really rapidly developing technologies when this landscape is so quickly evolving. That's our job. So we have really detailed professional development resources to make sure that all teachers feel like experts in the background content knowledge, as well as the individual learning activities of the course. And those teaching and professional development resources are available for the entire length of that license. So it can be very teacher directed. We don't necessarily need to have 4-hour PD in August that lasts us all year long. Teachers can return to these resources as needed to make sure that that information, that learning stays fresh and stays sharp as they're approaching new units throughout the year. And our resources, our student-facing resources, are all available in Spanish in addition to English. So whether you have a dual language program or you'd like to support students who primarily speak Spanish in the classroom or at home, we can also provide those resources in Spanish as well. Now, NextWaveSTEM courses are really rooted in our dedication to being hands-on. We do not want our students through NextWaveSTEM courses to simply be experiencing these technologies, to be passive users. They are active designers and creators utilizing these technologies to solve problems, to express themselves, or to work collaboratively. So, for example, our AI literacy programs are not just designed to have students utilizing a large language model like ChatGPT, which is often what we think of when we hear AI. Instead, students are building their own interactive chatbots. They're integrating learning models that they have trained on their own. They have gotten to build things with these technologies, and they are getting active practice with all these technologies every single lesson. Students are not building a set of skills over 12 lessons and then finally getting to use the technology in lessons 13, 14, 15. No, they're getting to practice every single day with these technologies to really build those skills in the arena. Our courses are also very engaging. Students have a lot of opportunity for interaction with these technologies, with their educator, with each other in collaborative spaces. And our lessons do use the 5E lesson plan, beginning with an engaging moment to really access students' interests and prior knowledge, having a lot of exploration time where students are generating their own ideas, questions, hypotheses about these topics without a whole lot of prescriptive explanation from their teachers just yet. We're coming back together to explain, to do some sense making. Sometimes that is direct instruction from our educator. Sometimes that's going to mean looking at the data that we've collected in the previous parts of the lesson and finding rules or patterns. Students are helping construct that understanding themselves. Elaborate being the section where students are getting to engage in a productive struggle. They're putting together this information that they've made sense of with some of the questions they had in their explore section. They're applying it to a new project or challenge. And then evaluate. We always want to be coming back to our learning objectives, making sure that we are checking in with our students in various ways to make sure that we're meeting the learning goals that we set at the beginning of the lesson and the beginning of the course. We are also really dedicated to our NextWaveSTEM courses being easy to implement. We understand that STEM can be a big lift for educators who already have a lot on their plate. We see this program happen through individual classrooms. We see it through library and media specialists incorporating it into their curriculum. We see it becoming part of a science block or as an after-school program. There's a lot of different ways to bring this in, but we want it to be something that teachers can easily integrate into their practice and doesn't feel like something that is going to be a really big lift. So we provide all of the resources that we can to make sure educators feel empowered to lead these courses. That means our professional development resources, which are really thorough, making sure that teachers get the content knowledge background, especially as we get to middle and high school level and that technology becomes more complex. Those skills that we want our students to have are more discrete. And then we also want to provide the resources for implementation to be successful in real time. So that means we're providing troubleshooting guides for the technologies. We're providing some guidance on classroom management, resources to help structure your lessons. All of this is included so that our educators can focus on the things that only they can do, the instruction, the guidance of our students. And finally, our courses are up to date. We are, like I said, committed to our responsibility to stay on the cutting edge of this rapidly evolving landscape, thinking about the way that our conversation around artificial intelligence has changed in the last year, 2 years. That's part of what NextWaveSTEM is dedicated to doing. So all of our courses having that 15 lesson core is not the be all end all. We do add an update with supplemental lessons and updates to our core lessons as the technologies develop. We also are staying ahead of what is coming from the horizon on a lot of these technologies. We've had an AI course since 2021. So we're not waiting for things to become relevant to students or to teachers. We're really bringing these technologies into the classroom in an innovative way. And ultimately, as an educator myself, I know that very most important piece of any program, any resource that we bring into the classroom is the quality and those alignment to our learning goals. So NextWave STEM lessons are aligned to science and technology standards, depending on what the most appropriate application may be, whether it's something that's more computer science heavy, or maybe it's going to touch on some of those core science skills like a hydroponics program, which is going to have a lot of alignment with life science standards. We do also know that not all schools and districts have the ability to dedicate time just to STEM instruction, especially at the elementary level. Trying to carve time out of the day for dedicated STEM time is a difficulty at best and is sometimes even an impossibility. And in those cases as well, we want to make sure we still have a chance to integrate STEM into our students' lives. So we also provide ELA and math standards alignment. If we do need to think about the instructional time we are already working with, what kind of skills can we reinforce with these lessons? So if students are getting a chance to reinforce their writing and tone by creating a chatbot, or their measurement by working through 3D printing and design, we want to really highlight those standards that are going to be touched on as well. And then finally, we do include those softer skills that are really important for our students to develop, but can be harder to measure and to really delineate where they happen in the day. Things like creativity, communication, collaboration, critical thinking. Those 21st century skills are also really explicitly represented in our courses, and we want to call out how we see them show up in our work. So with this understanding of NextWaveSTEM, if this is a STEM program that you believe can bring the kind of long-term, sustainable, interactive, innovative STEM programming to your corporation, you may be thinking now, how can we structure an application and the program design so that this falls into the Indiana Digital Grant? We're going to look at two specific examples, just two imaginary districts, one being a middle school career exploration focus. So this is a district who really wants to bring this in and have additional CTE experiences for their students to look at different pathways through this grant. So by focusing in on just that 6 through 8 career exploration pathway, all of those 6 through 8 programs are going to provide 15 lesson courses with examples and exploration around pathways like video game designers, graphic designers, digital innovators, drone pilots. Every one of our courses is going to examine those careers or maybe even multiple careers when there's multiple applications, as there are in something like robotics or these computer science coding courses. They're getting a lot of different careers to be explored through all of those courses. So with a small district, so this is a school corporation who serves less than 1,000 students, who has received that $12,500 award. There's a few different ways that we can break that up. Because one license of all of our content, access to that full K through 12 catalog is $5,000. This $12,000 award could be 2 teacher logins with access to all of our content and an equipment kit for robotics. So immediately, both of those teachers at 2 different middle schools or 2 STEM teachers at 1 middle school can start to implement things that are immediately hardware free. They can put on that AI program right away. They can do a drone simulator program. They can do the game design course without any equipment. And then they can share that robotics equipment between these 2 classrooms. And now we have a collection of 4 courses that's going to last them the length of the school year for their STEM program with this very first iteration. Or maybe we focus in on one school. If this is a smaller district, maybe we're only thinking about one school serving middle school students. So we need 1 teacher login, and with that additional funding, we can secure a robotics kit, a hydroponics kit, and a vinyl cutting kit to immediately put those programs on, in addition to the hardware-free ones like drone simulation or game design. Or maybe we want to commit to funding a kit of physical drones, some 3D printers, and the innovation kit for the entrepreneurship program. This may also have to play a little bit with what schools already have. If you have 3D printers in your school that you don't currently have a curriculum for, you can run our curriculum with whatever machines you currently have. If you have robots sitting in a closet that need to be dusted off and returned to the classroom, we may have a robotics application of our content that will apply to those particular models. So depending on what the goals are for different careers you want to explore, represent, or resources that are already present in the district, you may put together a different combination of access and of equipment. Here's another example of a slightly larger district who wants to use this grant funding for a more long-term K through 5 STEM with core support program. So this is a district who really wants to put on a STEM program, but also needs to be able to bring that back to some support in ELA, math, and science using that STEM program. So with this focus, this is a larger program. This is a larger district. So they're receiving the $25,000 award through the grant. Now with this program, depending on exactly what the focus you'd like to apply that core support towards, you can see different iterations. So this first example, 2 teacher logins, maybe we're thinking about 2 elementary schools with access to all content, and we're focusing in on the science support. So this is a couple of schools who really want to increase their student achievement in science. So they're going to start with circuitry kits for each program, hydroponics kits for each program, and solar power kits. All 3 of those courses are courses that support core science standards, physical science for circuitry and solar power, a little bit of earth science on solar power as well. And then that hydroponics program is going to be aligned to the life science standards that students are working through. So that's a focus more dedicated to science in particular. But maybe a course, a program for another set of schools wants to have a little bit more of the STEM focus. They want to bring in that ELA and math support as secondary standards through all of these courses, but they really want to use this grant to establish and launch a long-term STEM program. So they're going to focus on robotics and 3D printing. The more computer science focused, the digital design focus, and to be able to return to those kits year after year means that they'll be able to sustain this program. Or if this is a larger school corporation who's thinking through 5 different elementary schools, or maybe 5 different teachers across 2 or 3 schools, where we want to bring in that STEM program right away, Maybe there's already some resources, physical equipment in the schools, a 3D printer, some robots from previous grants or funding, or their focus is really just to get access to STEM immediately. You could use that $25,000 award for 5 different teacher logins and immediately start implementing those equipment-free programs, AI, game design, drone simulator. Right away, your students can have access to those courses and start implementing without any materials just yet. Now, we know that the creation of a successful application for a grant can be a big task as well. And understanding your busy instructional and administrative schedules, we want to provide all the resources that we can to make that happen. So we do have a sample grant template on our site to help you with some of that language that we know to be successful and descriptive when it comes to NextWaveSTEM's resources. We're happy, of course, as well to meet with you and talk through the specifics of your program design, what your goals are, what sort of focus you want your application and your program to have, whether it's that career exploration aspect of this grant or it's the more academic support. You want to see broader successful improvement in academic outcomes in math or ELA or science. And we can help build a program that's going to specifically meet those needs with you. But this is a great starting point just to make sure that your busy educators, administrators, whoever is representing your school and your school district for this grant is able to make that the most successful that it can be within their busy schedule. Also, the state has published the scoring rubric that will be used to evaluate this application, which is a great way for us to make sure that whatever applications we build are really successful. It's going to include things like the budget, the outcomes that you are aiming for with your program. Again, we're going to help really put those into language with you if you need assistance in really delineating what your outcomes may be, what kind of evidence you'll use for those outcomes, whether they're coming from NextWaveSTEM. We have those sort of assessments to help measure student growth in our courses, or whether you're going to be looking at broader student school data. As well as a sustainability plan, how this is going to work after this grant period is over, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So those key dates, this grant application is due April 6th. So we have time to help you build this application, to meet with you and talk through what your program goals are. And we're also going to give you some of these resources today with all of the things that we've gone through, those rubrics, the sample, a little bit of information on the digital learning grant if this is your sort of first time working with it. The award will be granted by June 5th in terms of notification. You'll find out if your application was successful. And that implementation cycle actually starts July 1st. So this could be a part of your summer programming as well, if that's something that helps strengthen your application or immediately starting to put in some of this work to see those outcomes even sooner. So if you are thinking about this program, you can start it through your summer camp and then implement it school-wide. You do have that full year of access with our license, and you can teach these courses as many times as you'd like with as many classes as you'd like over the course of that year. So you can use that robotics kit over and over again with all of your 6th grade, 7th grade classrooms and see how those implementations can be made the most of over that cycle. And I want to give you one last look at our course chart. This is also, of course, available on our site. But as you're looking at this course, now that we have a broader understanding of what each of these mean, every single box that you see here is a 15-lesson course with all those resources that we mentioned. Teacher's guides, presentations, student worksheets, assessments, all of this is included for every single one of these boxes. So when you have access to our full catalog, you actually have thousands of digital artifacts of different aspects of what this STEM program can look like. Whether you want to focus in on one grade level or 1 or 2 pathways, you have that opportunity in your hands to make decisions once you have that full access. I want to provide you with two really important links here today. One being our curriculum samples. We really stand by the quality of our content. These lesson plans are highly engaging, highly detailed, really easy to follow from an educator's perspective, and really engaging and exciting from a student perspective. So I highly, highly encourage you to check them out, especially if you have particular goals in mind. If you're thinking about those 3D printers that are sitting in your science closet, or you're thinking about that educator who really wants to do more AI in the classroom and you're not sure how, please check out our curriculum samples so you can get a sense for that high quality of instruction. I also have here a link to book some time with Jay. Like I said, we're more than happy to meet with you to talk through some of these specifics of what your school district is looking for, what your schools that you're representing already have access to, or what goals they may have in mind, and to really build a successful program and a successful application with you. There's nothing more I love than really getting in the weeds with educators and thinking through specifics like learning outcomes and goals for programs. So please use this link to book some time with us to learn a little bit more about the specifics of our program and so that we can learn a little bit more about the specifics of yours. In the chat, you're going to find Jay's information as well as the template for our grant application process. And so you're going to find those links there in the chat right now. We're also going to share some more of these resources with you later this week. But with the rest of our time, I want to provide some time for any questions that we can answer about this application process or about NextWaveSTEM. So please feel free with our last couple of minutes to drop a question in the chat and let us know any specifics that you're thinking through as you're sort of imagining how this program could look for your school district.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you guys do anything with CTSOs or non-CTSOs for like Lego is coming out, First Robotics Lego is coming out with a brand new Lego system. Is that something with an AI attachment? Is that something that could be folded into this program, or you guys are standalone operation?
We do have applications of different models and different systems with our content. So our robotics courses are applicable with the MBOT. We're currently developing and rolling out in the next month or so course applications for the Sphero system, the Lego system that you mentioned, the Ozabot. So we want all of your resources that you already have access to be applicable with our content as well. So we do have different iterations of specifically with robotics in particular, because we know a lot of different districts have a lot of different models. Great. Thoughts on sustainability when grant funding is no longer available? Absolutely. Our goal is not for you to make this one-time investment using this grant and then never have a chance to continue these programs. We don't want that. Part of the reason that NextWaveSTEM exists at all is because in working in procurement, our CEO and founder saw so many schools had materials that they no longer had the curriculum to use, and that those were just collecting dust somewhere. So we really want all of our content to be reusable year after year. So that means you're able to return to these resources if you invest in robotics or drones or 3D printer, that we provide support in maintaining those machines and that equipment, as well as returning to the training of your educators. Year after year beyond these programs launch, that access to our curriculum is only $5,000 for full access per login a year. If that's not within your school's budget, we do have access to other grant funding, and we have a lot of resources to help connect you with that, but also our district managers like Jay are really well versed in helping connect you with the right resources and imagining how you can keep these programs sustainable year after year. But our goal is that you do not have to replace equipment year after year, and that minimal investment and just access on the learning management system is the funding that you need to secure. Yes, the equipment is one-time investment and reusable. Any other questions? I always have to warn everybody, I am out of the classroom myself. I'm not afraid of a little bit of wait time, so I will stick around if there are any other questions. Of course, I also really want to encourage you if you want to dive in and get specific on your school district, on your schools, on your teachers and students, please book time with us. We're more than happy to chat through them. It's really exciting for us to get to imagine different possibilities for our programming and to provide you with a little bit more specifics because we've had to stay pretty broad today just to cover all of the different topics that we can include on this particular grant. But the specifics of our programs are really exciting. So definitely check out our curriculum samples to make that happen. Thank you so much for your time today, your participation in the chat and out loud. I really do appreciate it. We want to connect you and your students with these really innovative and engaging STEM curricula and resources. So please let us know how we can help make that happen. We are going to send out a recording of our time today, all of the resources that we've discussed, the rubric, the grant template, all of those things that can help strengthen your application by Friday. So we'll have all of these resources coming to you by end of week so we can get that process started as soon as possible and submit a really successful application by April 6th. So thank you all so much for your time today.
Thank you.